September 2021, Time Team visited the Broughton Castle estate near Banbury in Oxfordshire. The investigations revealed a huge Roman villa set in an extraordinary landscape. The water meadows and pond systems that we found may have been part of an agricultural landscape providing grain to the Roman army. We also found evidence of the people who lived here over 2 millennia ago. But while we were there, we couldn't resist the opportunity to delve inside Broughton Castle itself and take a closer look at its history and perhaps even uncover some of the secrets within its walls.
I'm here up at Broughton Castle to explore its more recent history, only the last 700 years or so, with a family member of the dynasty that's been here all that time. Mick always used to say that architecture is vertical archaeology, so I'm going to look at the evidence.
The castle is the seat of Lord and Lady Saye and Sele, and it dates back to the 1300s, with some of the architecture linked to when the renowned Fiennes family first took ownership. Joseph Fiennes starred in the film Shakespeare in Love, which was filmed at Broughton Castle. But it's his cousin Martin Fiennes who currently manages the estate.
I know you're here for Time Team and the villa, but I want to show you inside.
Fantastic.
So let's have a walk.
As a keen historian, Martin has been researching his family home and has spotted many mysteries within the walls. With the help of some of our team, he's hoping to unpick more of this architectural jigsaw puzzle.
Obviously, you see from the outside, you come up to the house, you see this Elizabethan property, a Tudor mansion.
Yeah.
But inside, what you've got is this 1300 medieval hall and living quarters 1300 down here, and wrapped around it is the 1550 house.
And there's some amazing sort of arches and things.
Yes, so through here, entrances to the medieval kitchens. In this house, you get all sorts of clues. They're sort of mysteries, really. We don't know the answers, but there's clearly an arch there, some kind of window or entrance hall there, just like here. What's all this about? What did that go to? Why was it chopped off there? I don't know. But this is all part of the 1300 house.
Much of the castle is incredibly well preserved. It's almost like travelling through a series of time capsules.
This is really exciting. I am in what appears to be a completely unaltered 14th century chapel. This is so rare. So we've got this stone altar here, which is on these kind of stone plinths underneath, and these just don't survive normally. They don't survive through the 17th century because in the Civil War they were really iconoclastic Protestants, but because this house ironically was in the hands of a Protestant, I guess they just sort of left it be. So we've got this incredible medieval stone altar. We've got this, which is a piscina, which is it's for washing the holy vessels during Mass. And it's got actually this head, which is known as an ogee head, which is a shape of art only used in the 14th century. And on the floor here, medieval tiles. And the fact is that it doesn't look like much has changed since the 14th century. Can you imagine that? And what you're looking through is a squint, and there's another one here. These are really interesting. They meant that the lady of the house, say, could be in her private apartment and not be seen, but could see the Mass happening here. So it allowed her that kind of intimate access, but also privacy.
With so many intriguing architectural features dotted throughout the castle, Lawrence and I have brought in our scanning equipment to see what we can discover hidden within the walls.
Oh, hi.
All right.
Yeah, how are you? What's going on?
We've been given some data by Adam Stanford to share with you for the house, for
Okay,
the castle.
great.
So this is the 3D photogrammetric model
that's
of the
amazing.
house that's been recorded by Adam's drone, and it's just spectacular, the level of detail. We've brought some more kit with us, haven't we, Derek?
Yes, what we'd like to do now, we've got the outside of the house, is do a similar thing inside and build a 3D model that we can interact with to record some of the kind of architectural stratigraphy of the house and try and piece together the different phases and the different areas. So taking archaeological methods we'd normally use in a trench, but apply them to a building.
That's fantastic. How do you do that?
So we've got this laser scanning pod, which looks very sci-fi. It comes with its own hyperbolic chamber. And we'll pop it on a tripod, and it will fire lasers all around the room, measuring distances all over the place, hundreds and thousands of laser points, and it'll build a point cloud of the whole space, which we can then start to interact with in a similar way to this, and we'll be able to layer the walls and the faces on top of that 3D model, and we can actually move through between rooms, so we can interact with the building as a whole as well as the individual spaces.
So as well as getting that amazing buildings archaeology, we're also hoping to piece it all together, and we'll be putting it into a virtual reality headset, so actually people will be able to explore this building for themselves and walk through the rooms and yeah, get a feel for what you've been talking about.
That's incredible. That's wonderful.
These scans will enable us to look at the castle from all angles as we try to work out its complicated chronology. And the many phases of building seem to relate to different phases of family history.
So explain to me the Fiennes connection with the house.
So house originally Sir John de Broughton, but then he sold the house to William of Wykeham. William, obviously great man in England at the time, Chancellor of England, effectively Prime Minister, and he lived here from 1377. Then one of his descendants, Margaret, married a Fiennes in 1450. And we can see on the family tree over here, you go from Wykeham's and then Fiennes's coming in about 1450 when they marry a Wykeham great niece. And Fiennes's had come up from Kent and Sussex, where they'd been sort of gangster landlords down there, but living in these three fantastic houses, Hever, Knoll and Hurstmonceux. And unfortunately, James Fiennes, who was the first Lord Saye and Sele, had his head chopped off in Jack Cade's rebellion. And then his son, not surprisingly, decided he didn't want to live in Kent anymore and came up and married a nice Oxfordshire girl. And so we've been here in the Fiennes family ever since 1450, but in the Wykeham family since 1377. Wow. Now, let's wander on down here because I want to show you more of the house.
As Martin explains, many of his ancestors had a hand in adding various pieces to the puzzle.
So we've left the medieval hall.
We really
now,
have.
now this is so different. You're up in there. This is the 1550 house, but with 1760 interior decoration. But essentially what we're doing now is we're standing in the vaulting of the medieval hall. So they took that off and then put these two floors, this floor and the floor above us, and the west wing are all the Tudor editions, the 1550
Okay,
editions.
so we're basically standing on the ceiling of the...
We're standing on the ceiling of the Great Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. And this would have been a big gallery.
Yes.
And I think originally in 1550, you wouldn't have had these partition walls. You'd have had this big, light, open gallery, one huge space on the first floor. And I think these partition walls probably came in about 1630, something like that.
And we're surrounded by pictures of people who I assume are your ancestors.
Yes, lots of ancestors. There we've got sort of late 16th century John Temple, who was a rich wool merchant. And then his daughter Elizabeth married our rebel hero William. And we go on through the generations. And then we end up here, we're actually with my great-grandfather. Like every family, good and bad in equal measure. Good Frederick, bad John, naughty William. And so these two, I mean, although I describe them as naughty and bad, which I probably shouldn't out of respect for my ancestors, but they were, actually they're kind of the heroes of the story, because we have this lovely unspoiled medieval house and Tudor mansion because they spent all the money in the 19th century and there was nothing left to do Victorian additions or Victorian changes.
One of the great rebel heroes of Broughton's history is William Fiennes, the first Lord Saye and Sele in the 17th century. He was a man who opposed James I, even though they were friends, and then Charles I, on the grounds that if the kings wanted money from their people, they needed to ask for it through Parliament. And this is what the Stuart kings were not doing. Actually, William Fiennes was also a Protestant at a time when Charles I was kind of bringing in what seemed like Catholic policies. But above all, he cared about this kind of extension of taxation without parliaments being held. And Charles I famously didn't hold a parliament for 11 years, from 1629 to 1640. And then when he finally agreed to let parliament meet, the parliamentarians said, well, you know, we'll give you money, but first of all you need to address our concerns, which the king did not want to do. And so ultimately it's people like Lord Saye and his other dissident friends who met here at Broughton, who discussed plans to bring down the king, that led to civil war.
Up on the roof, Martin gives Susie an overview of the castle, which includes detail from the 15th century.
Martin, this is the most beautiful manor house, but why is it called a castle?
It's a sort of social thing, really. I think, right, it's not a defensive position. You know, we're at the bottom of the valley, and indeed, as we see later on, anyone besieging this place, it's pretty badly sited. The castle is really social status, and if you had a gatehouse and a moat and a certain length of crenellation, then you were allowed to call your house a castle. And this is in 1400, 1406, in fact, they got a license to crenellate, and so at that time it probably, you know, makes them feel better. So this is the bit where we think Prince Rupert positioned his cannon after the Battle of Edge Hill. So Edge Hill, first battle of the Civil War, 7 miles over there, and all of Lord Saye's 4 sons were involved in the battle. And we know that Charles I told Prince Rupert immediately after Edge Hill to take my Lord Saye's house.
So Prince Rupert was actually shooting at the castle. Was there any damage to the castle as a result?
Well, on the gatehouse, you can see at the top of the gatehouse, on one of those battlements, it says 1655.
Yeah.
So we know that is a 14th, early 15th century gatehouse, but that is 1655. So that is clearly post-Civil War repairs. Yeah. But fortunately, the house itself was spared, which, you know, unlike Basing and some of these other houses that were completely destroyed. And there's a wonderful house over that way, 7 miles over there, called Compton Wynyates, and that was a royalist household. And so the family here, the Fienneses and the Comptons over there, they were constantly at each other, and I suspect that there may have been some mutual agreement that neither house was going to get destroyed, because Compton Wynyates, which was held by the Parliament, was not destroyed either.
Back inside, Martin shows Susie a room which he believes played a key role in the Civil War plottings. It's one of 2 possibilities for what was known at the time as the room which hath no ears.
So the room we're in here is, we call the council chamber, and the idea is that this is where John Pym, John Hampden, Lord Brooke, Lord Saye, his son Nathaniel Fiennes, the sort of top leaders of the opposition to the king, this is where they met, discussed what they should do. Some people could have called it treason, and obviously you wanted to be in a room where you couldn't be overheard. So here we are in a room where there's 3 sides that drop 4 stories down to the garden. You just need 1 loyal servant on the door, and then no one's overhearing your treasonable conversations. However, there is another possible room where it could make even more sense, which is at the other end of the house.
Can we see that?
Let's go and have a look. So here we are now coming back out onto the roof, and there you are. There's my little cottage on top of the castle. Was this the room where they met? Obviously it hath no ears either. It's self-contained out on the top.
Can I see inside?
Sure. So maybe our plotters met in here. And not much has been done in it since, I think.
So whichever room they met in, whether it was this one or the other one, it's really exciting to think that those dissidents met here and talked treason, something that if it had been overheard could have led to their deaths.
Absolutely. No, this was dangerous conversations.
With two possibilities for a room with no ears, Susie enlists Lawrence and I to do a bit of detective work.
Okay, so there's this really interesting building here at the end. A house, sort of a little house within a house at the top. What I suppose it really makes it clear, seeing it like this, is quite how isolated it is from anyone else. And this is really interesting because we know that there was a room here that was used for plotting before the Civil War, the English Civil War of the 17th century.
Right.
And so there are two possible candidates, and that is one of them. And I suppose we ought to compare with the other one, but I like the fact that it just looks so isolated there that it feels like that might, it's called the room that has no ears, so it's a thing where you can't be overheard because otherwise you are going to be hung, drawn and quartered. So that one's a really good candidate when you see it from that perspective.
It does feel very isolated out there, doesn't it?
So as Lawrence and I continue with the survey, Susie unpicks some of the detailing that relates to more turbulent times within the castle's history.
Look at this lovely door. It must be, 17th century, 16th, even earlier perhaps. Anyway, it's a lovely door and it's a pretty straightforward door. It's got its lock on this side, so if you wanted to close the door, shut people out for the night, just pull the bolt and you're good to go. But I want to show you something else. Come with me. This door. Okay, so we've got this massive wall here, and then we've got a door. Now, what's wrong with this picture? The problem here is that the bolts are on the wrong side. Look at this. That is a bolt to keep people in, not to keep them out. And so I think this must relate to the period in which prisoners, Catholic prisoners, recusant Catholics were kept here. Those who refused to go to Church of England services were imprisoned at the castle. And I think this door indicates that they were kept here and in the long gallery that was above the Great Hall and then shut in for the night. And there's one more thing, look here. This cupboard, where they now keep blankets and bed linen, I think that these are pallet beds. And I suspect this is where the prisoners slept. What do you think?
While Susie was taking a look around the castle, Lawrence and I made a bit of headway.
Hiya, have you got any results yet?
Yeah, we started to get some initial data in, and you can see here we've got all of the different points we've done 3D scanning. And if I click on them and go 3D, we can go into the building.
I love that you can go through the ceiling here.
Yeah, and we can look through it in plan if we want to and see it from above, so we can see the full layout of the building and even actually some of the outside buildings through the window, which is very cool.
Now, what's wonderful about this is it shows us all the details of these arches at the end here, which we can see here, and then you just really get this clear sense that you've got these perpendicular arches, which is, classic 14th century style, and hammers home the age of the building.
It's amazing, you can almost start to pick apart the stratigraphy just with the point cloud, and this is all unprocessed basic data, but when we do it properly we'll be able to see some really nice details as well.
And what I'm quite excited about, when you've got more than one room, we might be able to start to solve some of the mysteries of, the broken off arch, or, is that a staircase going
see
up
where
there,
they potentially
where they
go,
might have gone.
how they line up, it'll
Yes,
be really good.
that would be really helpful.
Every generation of Martin's family, as well as the people who've lived and worked on the estate, have left their mark on this building.
What I love about historic buildings like this are that you find interactions with people that have lived here over that vast time period that it's existed, and those appear in little bits of personalised graffiti that we find scattered around buildings such as this. One that's really caught my eye are these features just here. I don't know if you come in, What you should be able to see are a series of different circular features intersecting. So there's what these are called apotropaic marks. One thought is that they're linked to portals or entrances, and they're here to ward off evil spirits or bad things that may be entering. So loads of amazing little insights into how the people who have lived here over hundreds of years have left their mark, have left their beliefs, their understandings, their own protection on this amazing building.
One of the extraordinary things about Broughton Castle is how well the changing styles and fashions have been preserved.
So now we're going to go through into the heart of the 1300 house, or even earlier than 1300. We think maybe in the 1214, 1250 there could have been a house. You've got this groined passage with these lovely corbel heads.
They're gorgeous.
And the sense that this was the footprint of the really original, possibly even pre-1300 house on this bit here. But I want to show you now the undercroft. So Susie, now we're coming into the undercroft of the 1300 house. So if the undercroft is really the sort of storeroom, the secure room of that medieval hall. And again in here, you get all sorts of clues as to some kind of a structure that may have been here before. That's not an arch, but it's a lintel of some sort that's obviously predates the 1300 arches we've got.
So we actually got sort of evidence of a 13th century, 12 something or other possibly, or who knows?
Yes, who knows? 1550 double linen fold panelling.
This is beautiful, I love this stuff.
And it's pretty good, isn't it?
Gorgeous. Yeah.
You get nice bits actually here where you can see they've put stitch marks onto the panelling to make it look more like linen folded. But what I really want to show you is through this secret door here.
Oh, I like a secret door.
Which is nearly my favourite room in the house. And it's my kitchen. So the great thing about this kitchen is that you've got 1970 to there and 1280 vaulting above it.
Wow.
So it's a good combination.
What a place to cook.
It's good.
As Susie explores other rooms of the castle, even more historic gems are revealed.
Okay, so there's an interesting story here. That Lord Saye, William Fiennes, the one who went to war with the king, didn't actually approve of the fact that his head was cut off. He thought that was going a bit far. And so he was really pro the restoration of the monarchy in 1660. And this painting, this beautiful seascape, shows the departure of Charles II to come back to Britain to be king once again. But there's also another clue in here that tells us about Lord Saye's attitude. Come with me. Look at this. Gorgeous interior porch. And it's got this inscription in Latin, Quod olim fuit meminus miminem juvat, which means because there is no pleasure in remembering the past. And so obviously it's a statement about how he feels about his parliamentary past, or at least it's either a statement of his own regret or it's a statement designed to show off his regret in order to be restored back into the good favour of the king. And interestingly, it also speaks to his learning, his classical learning, because it plays with a line from Virgil which says, perhaps one day we will look back and remember these things with joy. But William Fiennes is saying, no, we won't.
The family's historic homage to the classical world doesn't end there.
We've got this incredible 16th century intervention in the house here. We've got this wonderful 16th century ceiling with Tudor roses, and then we've got this piece of plasterwork, which is clearly designed to show off classical learning because we've got Corinthian columns and Ionic columns. And then we've got this scene here with a quotation in Latin, which is taken from Ovid's Metamorphosis. And it's telling a story, which is a kind of curious story to have here. It's of dryads dancing around an oak. And this is a story of Erysichthon, who was an impious man who cut down a massive oak in the centre of the forest of the gods. And we're told actually when he cut down the oak groaned and the leaves turned pale and the tree actually bled as if it had been someone's head cut off. And to punish him, the gods ensured that he would have an insatiable hunger, so that he sold everything he had in order to buy food. Then he sold his children in order to buy food, and in the end, he actually turned to eating himself. And this is the story we've got here. And it was clearly put in the mid-16th century by Sir Richard Fiennes in order to demonstrate how much he knew of classical civilization. Little did he know that within the grounds of his own property, he had the real thing.
As we finish processing the castle scans, there appears to be an indication of a long-lost room hiding behind the walls.
So what have you found?
Some really interesting data, actually. We've done lots more surveys, you can see here. This was the main hall.
Yes,
and we've worked our way down all of the corridors in this wing of the house. So we've got the stairwell and we've got the later buildings down here, or the later addition to the building. But if we go into the model, there's our stairwell going upstairs to the chapel.
Yeah.
And what's quite interesting is, while we can't see what's under it, we can see the space left by all the other rooms. So we can think about the shape of the cavity. But as you come down here, you can see that this building actually bows out ever so slightly, as if there was something there, something of interest. So potentially a room that's missing with this sealed up window, the sealed up door, perhaps being on an outside exterior wall.
So where do you think that sealed up sort of door was?
Well, what's interesting is it doesn't seem to go anywhere on the other side of the room. So you can see it here in the kind of the negative space between the two. Yeah. And then on the other side, it's just a very clean, normal wall. So there doesn't seem to be a clear link between the two sides at all. So it's as if something was there that isn't there anymore.
Because otherwise, you just build a straight wall, right? So.
Yeah, but whenever this extension or this development was added on in the end, it had to go around something.
So that suggests that what was here before is, we're talking... We're like 12 something or other, we don't know. I mean, at the latest. So there was something even earlier that was here.
This new discovery, hidden within the walls of Broughton Castle, is a silent reminder of the ever-changing story of the building and the family who have lived here over the centuries. And our scans and photogrammetry have been able to show the current Lord and Lady Saye and Sele a different view of their home, and even confirm some of their theories.
When we were filming this morning inside the house with Susie, we're talking about the room which hath no ears.
Right.
And they say, but didn't we hear a rumour that there might be another room?
Well, it's only my invention.
Okay, but your invention may be right. And so from here, there's the front door.
Yeah.
It's a little room all on its own that you can only access from the roof.
Wow.
Our work here at Broughton, both at the Roman Villa site and within the castle itself, has given an incredible insight into over 2,000 years of land ownership and history. Investigations have uncovered layer upon layer of changes, instigated by generations of families who've created, rebuilt and reshaped their home and the landscape around them. And all as a response to the circumstances of their fascinating lives and the times in which they lived.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses, and behind-the-scenes insights.